Hi there, and welcome back to another episode. I'm very glad that so many of you wanted to see those 3 things about Uppsala. Now we're in a different place. And why am I whispering? Because Herr Wrangel is right next to me, resting in eternity. And everything that I'm about to show you today, in a way, stems from him. But let's leave Herr Wrangel to his rest and get this episode started. We're still in the same region of Sweden. What region is that? The region where Swedish kings and queens have traditionally resided, and still do. Which means that in these parts you'll find many castles and other oversized dwellings. And not just royal ones, but also those of the wealthy members of nobility, industry and military, to name a few. And in this category of Swedish privately built palaces, this one is the biggest. But it's not just its size that impresses, its vast inventory, intact interior decoration and unfinished state all make for a visit that's absolutely fascinating. This is a completely unique window into the Baroque period, at a time when the Swedish Empire stood at its height. So follow me inside and I'll show you 3 interesting things to see at Skokloster Slott. Alright, so we're ready to go inside. But before we do, let's have a look at a little video about the castle's history.
The story of Skokloster Slott begins in the early 1600s, when Herman Wrangel, a cavalry captain of Estonian origin, received a gift from the king as thanks for his contributions in the Swedish military. He was given an abandoned monastery and a small stone house and surrounding land on the Skå Peninsula, not far from Stockholm. 2 years later, in 1613, he and his wife Margareta Grip had their first child, Carl Gustav. Young Carl Gustav followed his father's footsteps and at 19 years of age fought in one of the most important battles of the 30 Years' War, the Battle of Lützen. He was promoted to colonel at 22 and soon after major general. Things went really well for him and his fame grew all over Europe. He was appointed governor, university chancellor, member of the Privy Council and field marshal. He also became a count and therefore noble. Wrangel's problem was that he, who came from outside of nobility, didn't have any castle to manifest his amassed wealth and power. Luckily, he did have the perfect place to build it, on the Skå Peninsula, where he had been born. The construction of the castle began in 1654 and Wrangel poured his new money into it. Only the finest materials and artists were employed. He brought in collections of art, weaponry, rare books, and exquisite furniture. However, form went far ahead of function, and while the castle's rooms looked formidable, they lacked heating altogether, leaving the castle practically uninhabitable during most of the year. His eldest daughter, Margareta Juliana, inherited Skokloster Slott and turned it into an entailed estate, meaning items could not be sold or removed from the castle, only added from then on. But what was the status of Swedish nobility in the early 18th century? I am glad you asked. For the answer, we need to widen the scope and
Welcome back to the tour. I hope you enjoyed that 10-minute video. Our first highlight is behind this door. Let's go. Befitting a military commander, Carl Gustav held a large collection of weapons of all kinds. Crossbows, swords, miniature cannons, and guns and rifles in plenty. In fact, this is the largest collection of 17th century personal arms found anywhere in the world. Right! 17th century firearms. Loud, inaccurate, and dangerous to handle. Yes, but they're also handmade, beautiful works of art. And I can assure you that the craftsmanship of these items is worthy of a closer look and admiration. Apart from the weaponry, there are also many odd and exotic objects or wonders to discover, such as this chest. The chest contains 8 extremely rare objects from the Lenape or Susquehannock tribes in present-day Delaware. These historical Native American objects were likely a gift from the governor of New Sweden, Johan Printz, in the mid-1600s. How about this red deer headwear?
Carl Gustav Wrangel was planning on having some serious parties. His banqueting hall was going to have a floor space of 325 square meters and a 15-meter high ceiling. This means that they were building the largest hall in the entire kingdom. However, funding was always lacking, so when the workers received news that their patron had passed away in Germany, the work was halted. It was suddenly unclear if their contracts would be renewed, or even if the castle itself would ever be completed. The subsequent owners of the castle never resumed the construction, and the hall was left as the workers left it on that summer day in 1676. Their scaffolding, ladders, tools and screws are still here, telling the tale of how this magnificent castle was built.
Our visit wouldn't be complete without mentioning the castle's art collection. There are some 1,000 paintings found here, mostly portraits, and one in particular stands out for being, well, particular. It's a portrait by the Italian painter Giuseppe Arcimboldo, where he reimagines the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II as Vertumnus, the Roman god of seasons and change in nature and life. What's particular about it is that the emperor is not merely associated with fruits and vegetables, like in a conventional painting, he's straight up made of them. It was painted in Milan in 1591 and has been at the castle for at least 200 years.
Those were the 3 things that I wanted to show you here at Skokloster Slott. A special thanks to my dear friend Pierre Nordahl, who joined me with his lute. Please leave a comment and tell me what you thought about this episode, and also where you'd like me to go in the coming episodes. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!